Q-Tip, Renaissance. We talked about this. We were talking about this versus Amplified about 3-4 episodes ago.
What would you classify? Like, what are the criterion for like something being underground or underrated? I'm just asking that in general.
I would probably say an album that people don't generally talk about often that was quietly dope, possibly.
I
So
think
would that be mainstream or would that be?
I think underrated albums, they come up as underrated a lot in conversation. You see what I'm saying? When you start talking about albums that are underrated, the same ones more than likely tend to come up, for me at least, whenever I've had that conversation. You start hearing some of the, the ones that people think are underrated. But do you all agree with that? Renaissance?
I would say probably amongst my circle, we all mess with the Renaissance.
Right.
So,
That's why I kind of asked the question, because it's like, who to whom, you know?
But you got to understand too, and this ain't saying that we're better or any indifferent than anybody else, but
right,
people's ears are different. So generally, the people that you're around, I mean, you have similar interests. So musically, I know a lot of us share the same kind of music interests. So to us, it's not an underrated album because it's going to be somewhere in our fold.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on the outside looking in, it's a minority favor. You know what I'm saying? So,
are any of you surprised that this is coming from Rock the Bells, which is geared more towards a more mature audience, if you will?
I think the people who are in tune with Rock the Bells would not think that this particular album is. I remember when it came out and it was very much lauded by, the quote unquote mainstream press that covers hip hop. Right. Did it do the numbers? I don't honestly, I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I think part of the reason it was also a really kind of crazy shift in how music was being consumed at that time. I remember I was running a record pool, it might have been after, so to where like, they weren't even sending DJs vinyl anymore.
Right.
People they were really getting away. It was kind of like, I remember that recession of 2008. I can't remember exactly when the Renaissance came out, but I remember
probably like 04, 05.
Oh no, it's after
later.
that.
It's later than that.
But I could have amplified.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Later.
But I just remember that there was this weird kind of depression that hit the music industry before it hit the rest of the country around that time, to where we're used to like big budget releases coming out and doing 500,000-600,000. All of a sudden they were doing like 150 and 2, and everybody was like, well, what's going on? And people had just were starting to get away from buying records, not only because there was no streaming at the time. It was just like, okay, people were just going to download the 1 or 2 songs they liked off of iTunes, or there were still people, just downloading.
Well, you could burn an MP3 CD then that could have 100 songs on it.
So, there was just That's a real, I think, I don't know what the rest of the list looks like, but, I think there'll be some other ones that got caught up in that particular sweep of changing how music was being consumed.
Release date November 8th. November 4th, 2008.
That sounds about
so
right.
that's about in that same.
And I would say, and I don't know, from my perspective, I would say it probably was a little underrated for me because I think I'd never really. I don't want to say I didn't think about it, but I didn't. I don't know. I don't ever think about that album.
But you were on Amplified,
It was heavy in the
right?
snap era too, wasn't it?
That's also, like I said,
after.
what was considered mainstream in hip hop was completely different than what Amplified was.
100%.
Not Amplified, but the
Renaissance.
Renaissance was at that time.
Let's get down the list here. Pharoahe Monch, Internal Affairs.
That's
Number
come on
9.
now. Internal
Goes
Affairs
back to the same.
When did this
same
drop?
thing that we
99.
This is the one that is no longer available to listen to?
I think it's been made available recently.
Hmm.
But we're talking about the one with
Simon Says, right?
Simon Says.
Yeah.
No,
Which-
that's not underrated.
I
Maybe it's I take that back. Maybe
don't
it's
know,
an entire.
man.
Not the heads.
No.
There it is.
I mean, this is a weird list because, like, I'm these are 2 albums that I don't think are underrated at all.
But you got to take into consideration what Terry said about our palette, the way we listen to certain things, and the people that you're around. I do believe that because this one is I don't hear a lot about this album.
Yeah, I had that release date when it came out. The day it came out, I had it.
Yeah,
I remember. We talked to Pharoahe Monch.
Yeah,
and he, if I remember correctly, didn't he talk about that record some?
He talked about that, and he talked about Desire.
Yeah, and then his new record that he dropped actually, 13th or 13 or whatever. I think one of the reasons why this could potentially be considered underrated is because it was left. I mean, it was all sorts of copyright issues.
Yep.
Like Simon says, I don't even think that is on streaming. I don't think it can be because they never cleared that sample.
It's funny you say that. It says while
and sued them and blocked
like Godzilla or something.
It says while it was absent from streaming for years due to sampling issues. Yeah, that's right here underneath the headline.
Yeah.
So yeah, you on the money with that.
I
think it's other things that, I mean, if you're going to call it underrated, I mean, it just wasn't available for a long time.
That's what I mean. Like,
you didn't have the hard copy of that album. You didn't have it.
Yeah, like you couldn't get it anywhere, and you couldn't. I don't even think you could purchase it.
No,
like even a hard copy.
No, like
so,
after a certain point, it was out of print.
Yeah.
All right, so number 8, Magnetic MCs, Critical Beatdown.
I've heard it in it. I think it's super underground. I don't know if I would say underrated.
There's rhyme schemes upon rhyme schemes on this one.
So many people cite Critical Beatdown as an influence. I don't think it can really be considered underrated. You know,
that's fair.
You know, De La Soul talk about how Ultramagnetic was a huge influence on them. You know, so
can you be influential and still have an influential project that is underrated? Are you saying?
I think all things are you know what I mean,
possible to be influential. Yeah,
I don't know. Like I don't.
Kind of goes back to the quote.
That's like what 94 or 5?
Oh no, it's
earlier than that.
Beatdown is in the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That goes way back. Yeah, I have to look it up for this.
It's kind of like when people say your favorite producers or favorite rappers rapper type thing.
Yep.
It's almost like it can be influential to a nice core of people, but not to the masses.
Right. For sure.
All right, so try this for number 7. Diamond D, Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop. And they have Diamond D, the 45 King, Large Pro, and Q-Tip. Enough said. Put underneath.
Yeah, no, I can see that one. I could definitely see that one.
We in agreement on that one for the most part.
I mean, I think Large Professor is probably the most underrated producer of all time across the board. Because everybody gives him props for being that guy, like from the era. Like,
that's facts.
You know, like Premier, Pete Rock, you know, Q-Tip.
Q-Tip, yeah.
You know, like all these guys are just like, Large Professor showed me how to use SP. You know, like, and he's, you know, and he was a good rapper, and you know,
MCs give him
main
his
source,
flowers.
But nobody talks about Diamond D.
Diamond D is slept on. To me,
I think
that project is slept on, and him as a producer is slept on.
I would agree with that. Would you say, Lone? I mean,
I think he's up there as well. But I personally would probably put Large Professor as more slept on, if that's even a thing. You know what I mean? But I would definitely say they're both in there.
I'm not mad at that. Let's go to
digging in the crates.
Number 6, Lords of the Underground. Here come the Lords.
No.
No.
That song had 2 hit singles. No.
You ain't going on that one, huh?
I don't even know what this is. What are we talking about?
It says it's another
Boom Shakalaka.
You know that.
Here come the Lords. That song. That album was all on the radio. No.
Lone, you know some joints on here when you hear it.
Okay. What year are we talking about?
Chief Rocker.
You know Chief Rocker.
Come on, Chief Rocker was that. Chief Rocker was on NBA Jam Street.
Yeah.
Which
Volume 2.
Volume 2. Yeah, that's why I know it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
which I saw you saw that tweet, but they need to bring that back.
That album wasn't John Blaze enough to be on the list talking about it.
Who's the artist again?
Lords of the Underground.
No, Lords of the Underground. If you told me their second album, somehow we slept on that. I no, but
so y'all not going for this one.
No,
I feel like the rest of them were all going to be the 80s, aren't they?
No,
you are wrong, sir. Uptown Saturday Night, Camp Low. Now I agree with this because if you think about it,
they invented mumble rap, kind of.
What?
No, I'm joking.
No, they definitely had their own language.
Yeah, I'm. They got this at number 5.
I don't know
how we feel about this.
I don't think it's underrated because I listened to it and I was just like, it's cool.
I don't know, man.
I think it's underrated just because I remember thinking when I heard Lucchini,
Yep.
and even when I heard oh gosh, Cooley High.
Cooley High is
when
fire.
I first heard Cooley High, I heard off of a 12-inch, and then it wound up on the Great White Hype soundtrack. I bought that whole soundtrack for that song, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be it, and it just did not have the commercial impact I thought it was going to have, even though everybody knows Lucchini.
Let me ask, Jay Diff is.
But anything else though on there?
That's what I was about to
Crystal
ask.
Carrington, Bubbling.
That's what I was about to ask Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I once
Is
again,
it an iconic album or is it
ain't
iconic because
Lucchini.
of the single?
It ain't
I think
Lucchini.
it's more. I think it
Swing
at the time
like, there were
the
joints
way
on
they were rhyming and their style and things like that is what made them stand out.
And their fitness regime after the fact. There's some big buff swole dudes.
No, Camp Low.
Camp Low, yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him recently to know that.
I saw him at A3C and I was like, wow, these guys got a nice fitness.
Is that what
fitness
you?
regimen.
Is that what you said?
No, I remember when they came here to the Jazz.
They were
Kitchen.
like,
They
you know,
just-
I
They
ain't know
look like
Camp Low was
themselves. I
out
didn't
here
know
swole.
I didn't know they go.
Good for y'all though.
Shout out
Y'all
to MOP. They've been in the gym.
Okay.
Have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to MOP. All right.
I'm
Black
low.
black on both sides, Mos Def.
No,
I don't
that's
agree
not
with this.
underrated.
That's not underrated.
Yeah.
That album went gold.
Unless I've been in we just
Nah,
been in a
that's not
certain
what we
circle.
Says Miss Fat Booty, Mathematics. Come on now.
Yeah, that was.
Lone, you looking up in the sky.
that was going.
Lone is looking up in the sky.
No, I like it. I'm just trying to think if it should have had more praise. That's all I'm thinking.
That album is dope to me, man.
As a true underground artist,
Yeah.
because he's a backpacker, not underground necessarily, but a true
Same
backpack.
thing, really.
Yeah, essentially. But
Back then for
I
sure.
think he did impressive numbers with that album.
Yeah, like
You
I
said
said,
it went
the album
gold,
went
right?
gold.
Yeah.
You know, I remember it's weird because
Raucous.
like Internal Affairs and Black on Both Sides were marketed basically. It looked like it was the same budget. It'd be at the top or the bottom. It'd be on the same page. They'd be talking about those particular albums. So
Umi Says video is fire.
yeah,
Oh, that's
Umi
right,
Says
Umi
was
Says,
in a
yeah.
Michael Jordan is a Jordan commercial.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah,
This is why I asked, like, starting off, like, if we could develop, like, I wonder what their criterion for, like, actually what makes something, you know, like, underrated, because
I'm waiting on some album like The Crew, Dirty 30, like something like that.
Well, I got three left. I got
All right, what we
number
got?
3 is Dead Prez, Let's Get Free.
No,
That's a dope
He said
album.
no.
Dope
these are albums that everybody who loves hip hop remember. Like this is
if you're a certain age.
Certain age, yeah, definitely. certain
Don't
but
forget
if
the age.
Yeah, but you know,
Certain
if
click,
you
too,
care
because
about Rock the Bells,
I grew up with some people
There we go.
that probably have never heard the Dead Prez
So
album.
did I.
I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really like a lot of Dead Prez.
That first album was cold.
I only like a couple joints. It just doesn't move me.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect it.
Now this, yeah,
The DOC. No one can do it better.
that's a far cry right there.
That's a far
That
cry.
There's no way because the DOC, no one
this is a
does
terrible list.
No one can do it better. Was like a pinnacle album.
Yeah.
that's some of Dr.
Every
Dre's
time.
best work.
I don't
Yes.
agree with this. I'm with y'all on this one. I don't agree with this. They got the pull.
This made
But-
people really fiend for DOC to rap again, and he unfortunately had gotten in that car accident.
Tragedy of a Lyricist. I remember
Yeah.
that episode of Yo MTV Rap.
Go ahead, Long. What was you about to
But-
say? What were you gonna say?
If you weren't around them in that era, you don't hear of him at all.
But once again,
That album doesn't
if you
go past that time period.
You don't think it resonates past that time period?
I don't.
Hmm.
Because coming up, I didn't know anything about the DLC. Never saw him in anything. I mean,
So you saying this is the ultimate Heads album in your opinion?
I think it's a Heads album, and I think you have to be a certain age.
Certain age
if-
group.
But
I'm with you on that
But
one.
if you've been going to say Dre
Some
days
heat on there though.
for the past few years,
Yeah.
you're going to hear like he.
I mean, he
Funky
did a
Enough,
lot of
DLC,
stuff.
The
Funky
Doctor,
He did a lot of
The
writing on the
Formula.
Chronic too.
No,
Good call.
like that's the album, and it's crazy. Other than the grand finale, which features NWA,
Yeah.
there's no cursing on that album, and it's one of
Yeah.
the hardest albums ever.
Yeah,
No,
The Formula is one of my favorite beats of all time. I
Mind-blowing.
don't know why, but
yeah, that whole
Whirlwind
album.
Pyramid,
though.
get out of
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
Like I said, if this was like Complex or something, I might get it.
But
You know, but you're talking about Rock the Bells.
I see.
I don't even know what their brand is. What is Rock the Bells brand? I mean, I was LL, but what is
Rock
it?
the
though?
brand. Rock
No,
the
they got
brand.
a
I said Rock the brand.
X radio station or something.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
LL is behind a lot of that from XM, and he hosts a show on there.
I mean, I was familiar with the show. I just didn't know if there was
like
something
Rest in
more.
Peace Biz used to have a show on there where he spun. And,
Gotcha.
I know Top Speed's been on there a few times.
Yeah. Shout out to the homie Top Speed. All right, man. And number one on this
half a list
is Deltron 3030.
Okay. Yeah,
Deltron
there you go.
3030.
Yeah, there we go.
That makes sense.
So there we go. Yeah, that makes more
sense because I barely even, as someone who considers myself to be ahead, I can't even really think of the names of the songs.
I'm not gonna cap. I can't either.
So that makes sense to me. But how you gonna have albums on this on here that have 3 and 4 hit singles?
So we're saying the DLC should be taken off. Most should be taken off. Most Def. You know,
Moist
I hate them.
The only reason I did is because you pronounced the T extra hard.
I did, didn't I?
You're like most, like
cut it out, man. I hate when he laugh like that. All right, so most Def.
He said it again. Really.
I didn't say the T is hard, man. Stop co-signing
There's
him,
no T
man.
in Mos Def.
I get it, man. Camp Low. Are we keeping? We say Camp Low was properly placed.
No.
Okay, I think it is. I don't think
they belong on anyways, but whatever.
I just think Lucchini was cold and Cooley High was cold, and I think that gave it legs.
No, there's 4 or 5 records on there that I just love.
Lords of the Underground. I know Jay Moore said it.
I can't really speak on that one.
Yeah,
the Diamond D joint.
Can't really speak on that one either.
I could see that one.
Yeah.
That's
valid.
That's valid.
Yeah,
because this is a super competitive time in rap, and if you weren't really paying attention, might have got lost in the shuffle.
And he was super. He's always been super slept on.
Yeah, that's valid.
Ultramagnetic.
From the 80s, I don't because this is when maybe 15 hip hop albums came out a year.
Yeah.
So
we explained what happened with Pharoahe. So
yeah,
and then Q-Tip was.
Yeah, I think they were wrong on that.
Bad man. Normally these lists.
Yeah, I mean, this next 10 better bring it because I'm sorry, this is.
Yeah, we got to do the next.
Like
10
I said,
when they release it.
What do you think? What do you think that belongs on there?
That's a good question.
I think of albums like I said, one of just off the top of my head.
Can we each give one?
Okay, I already gave my one. Dirty 30 by the Crew. They were on Def Jam, and there was a big push behind them. That album to me was great. And if I were to introduce, that's an album I'd be like, what's an album I should check out that I probably never heard? I would say, and the thing is, it's only half of the songs are streaming now, and it's hard to find a hard copy. But I love that record.
What you got?
Say?
It was a group called Crew.
Crew. Okay. Yeah,
The Crew.
I was thinking
smiley face, and one was like a skull.
Yeah.
I love that record.
And just when you said the name, I was in deep thought. So yeah.
You got anything off top?
Yeah, I would say Murs and Ninth Wonder, or Murs 316, the 9th edition.
Oh,
Okay.
I think that's a classic record.
classic album.
Yeah, I think it's front to back. It's dope. Yeah, I think it's some of Ninth's best work too.
I never thought about it like that.
And I think it's the best Murs and Ninth project.
Trilogy. They got 3, right?
Or like 5 or 6.
I'm sleep. I didn't know they kept collaborating.
And I know it's underground, but it's definitely solid.
I used to listen to that mug, so I'm not really mad at you there. Jay, if you got anything off the top of your head, just pops up. I even see Red August thinking. He looking in there.
Oh, I've actually said this one before. Jizza Beneath the Surface.
I could see that.
I'm a pass on that one.
Yeah,
But when I think
I like it, but I'm a pass on that one.
There's still people who don't know Little Brother's music. I would say the Minstrel Show. There are people that maybe people who listen to this show, but there are people who consider themselves fans of hip hop who really don't know that record.
Yeah. Live from the tape deck with Skyzoo and Illmind.
Yeah,
there we go.
Good.
There we go. Yeah.
There's so many from that era.
To Jay Moore's point about the Minstrel Show, I've had conversations and I've had to sway people into believing how good Fonte is. Like I've had back and forth battles with people about, y'all really think he's that good? Y'all really think he's that? I'm like, yes, he's that good.
Nah, he's nice.
And Little Brother as a group has some iconic music. They just do, to me. So I don't know, man. It's all subjective at the end of the day.
I mean, there's tons of records we could even argue that Add 2's new record is super slept on, even though he got more love on it than his
Jim
previous.
Crow?
Yeah, Jim Crow the musical. You know what I mean? Like
that album is amazing.
There's so many levels to this conversation.
That album is amazing.
Because if we're talking straight underground, I could spout off You know,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to the homie Ad Ill Brown on the master, mixing and mastering. That album is phenomenal.